Knowing if they're going to come to your city is pretty predictable because here's everywhere they've been so far in 2025. This is as of October. Minneapolis is not listed, but we know they've been to Minneapolis too. Not just, these aren't places just that they've been. This is like the propaganda, National Guard, militarization, right? And now let's overlap this with the last time that he did this. This was in 2020. Very similar cities. A couple additions there. Very similar cities. And now we overlap the trade route, north-south trade route. Yep, still some outliers though. So what if we add in the Mississippi River that they care a lot about? Yep, and there it is. This isn't all they care about, so now let's overlap everything at once. So if you're on any of these lands, eventually, yeah, they could be coming to you because these are the lands they care about. Stick around, we're going to break it down. But please share this video. If you want to know how to actually resist, like strategically resist, stick around. Also share my video, please, because it doesn't really go anywhere unless a lot of people share it. It's the way the algorithm works. So if you think this message is important for people to know what lands are strategic when it comes to protests, share. So everybody keeps tagging me in this picture and things like this picture, things about kettling, talking about how this is all very orchestrated, that they want to harness people into specific areas so that they can essentially round us up. And I agree, but I don't agree that they're harnessing us into those areas. I would say they're cracking down on these areas because they're all strategic areas. And kettling is a well-known tactic, very widely known, very widely used tactic. And I'm not saying that they're not kettling. They absolutely are kettling. But why are they kettling here? So we're going to look at this map. And I'm going to get out of the way here. Watch the coastlines. Obviously, there's quite a bit on the coast. Coast is ports. Here's our port. So already quite a bit of the places that we've seen major crackdown. This doesn't mean that ICE won't be in other places. I'm saying that these cities that I'm showing you here, they're not gonna just give up. The government won't just let them be because these are strategically needed for national security. They're not wrong. These are the ports. So food comes in here, energy, goods comes in here. If we were to cut any of these off, if there was to be any sort of a violent event on any of these places, number one, that is 100% a T-word attack. I don't mean they're labeling it as that. That is a T-word attack, whether you meant it to be or not, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be cutting off the food and the goods for everybody else. That's not fair. We don't make change by starving our neighbors. Additionally, any of these cities that I show you, these are prime propaganda places. So any protest that could be flipped to look violent, if they want to increase surveillance in those cities, and they do, they're just going to flip it to make it look violent. So if you're in any of these cities, or any city that I showed during this video, you have to make sure that your protest cannot be flipped to make it look violent. That means sit. That means organize your demands and sit. And understand what it means to sit. And sit strategically. Sit unified. And don't sit for get ICE out of our city because it's never going to happen. We'll continue watching. I'm going to tell you why it's never going to happen. Get strategic. Go for the head. Watch my other videos to know the head. And be smart about your demands because some demands actually are also illegal if they're not tied to, if they don't make sense. So if you can't tie it to labor, striking your labor for a political purpose that isn't tied to labor is not fully legal. So you have to tie it back to your labor, which it's tied to everyone's labor because all of this is because of climate change. Watch my other videos if you're not sure how. That is a linchpin that is important. If you cannot tie it to climate change, if you can't tie it to your labor, then your demands are not legal. Getting back to the point though, here's the ports. Any violence on there could easily be framed as terror. Any protests that are on there they're not gonna just let you go. They're not gonna just give up. If you are an immigrant and you live in this area, I cannot tell you to leave. What I can tell you is they're not gonna give up. I can tell you that it is not safe for anyone who is vulnerable to citizenship or even to ideological enforcement. These areas are not going to let up. That doesn't mean that we should just give them up because what happened in Palestine? Palestine just gave up all of their land. They were originally allocated strategic land, and then because they didn't get it, the only negotiation tool that they had left was their labor and their bodies, and the bodies that they could take from the other side, essentially. So if you don't want to be in that situation, then the answer isn't to just roll over in these cities. It is to be strategic and to leverage your labor for things that are tied to your labor, demands that are tied to labor in any city that I show you here. Let's move on to the next map. This one I'm not going to show for too long because I have already showed it. This is the Northwest trade, North-South trade. I'm tired. It's been a long day. This is extremely important. These are basically just highways, but this is how the goods, again, get north to south. So if we need to pull something up through South America, through land access through South America, it's going to come through Mexico, through these ports. It'll be dispersed north through the trade routes that you see here. If we need to get goods into or out of Canada, and I'll tell you again, the Arctic trade route is going to be opening. So trade to the north, they care about a lot. They're not going to let up on any of these paths here, especially the white dots that are along the way, because those are the major hubs. But any city that is along these paths, if a protest can be framed as violence, if a protest can be used to increase surveillance, they will use it to increase surveillance. Sit down, organize your demands, tie it to labor for things that make sense to be tied for labor, and attack the root cause, which is the supply chain issues. I'll make another video about what to focus on. But do not starve your neighbors. Attacks on this line starves your neighbors. Attacks on this line won't be let up. Immigration on this line will be enforced. They're not going to give up. I can't tell you to leave these areas if you're an immigrant or if you're vulnerable to that kind of a thing, but what I can tell you is they're not going to let up from these routes. One of the biggest ones, this is the Arctic trade route. This is what's opening. This is really what's really pushing everything this year, or a big piece that's pushing everything this year. But right up there, Alaska, where it meets Russia, specifically Nome, Alaska, because that's where they're investing in as far as the shipping logistics goes. Nome, Alaska. Someone who is still in Alaska, maybe let them know about the importance of Nome, Alaska, but I'm going to be real with you guys. That is the biggest choke point that America has access to right now. They will militarize, and they will never, ever, ever stop militarizing. And because they're so separated from the rest of the United States, it is extremely strategic for them. All right, this one's ports again, but I like this one because it shows the Mississippi River, which is, of course, massive. There's like thousands of miles. I think it's like over 4,000 miles of levees in this river that are controlled by the Army Corps. There's also a couple dozen dams and like various infrastructure that is necessary. They're probably going to be focused quite a bit on securing that as a trade route in and of itself, a trade route, a transit route, military operations, water. That's very important. Any cities that are along the Mississippi River, especially those that have infrastructure, they're probably not going to let up on you. Again, I can't give advice, but if I lived near this river and I was an immigrant, they're not going to let up on you. All right, here's all of the major roads in America. So I've already pointed out the ones that are going north-south because of the Arctic trade route opening, because of the fact that the north-south trade is going to shape our world once we split by hemisphere, which we're doing right now. We're actively prioritizing the Western Hemisphere right now. So already the north to south, more relevant than the east to west right now. But the east to west, also relevant. So if you live on an east to west path, maybe not as much focus on those as the north to south. Definitely not as much focus on those as the ports, but those are still relevant. It's important to keep in mind. Here are ICE detention centers. The blues are private. That has increased. I think this was from October. The purples are local jails. The yellow are specifically ICE centers, but they're doing dual beds now. Geo Group and Core Civic are both using normal beds for ICE detention. So basically any jail that is Core Civic or Geo Group is contracted with ICE detention. But we do see an uptick in enforcement around places that have the logistics and the transportation to get people to a facility. So if you are near a map, this map is ever changing. People are constantly in my comments saying, we're building a facility, we just bought a warehouse. This map's ever changing. Also, if you're worried about an ICE center that is coming to your neighborhood, understand whether or not it is a detention center or if it is a staging center, because that changes. It changes who they're going to be bringing there. Staging centers will bring people from large distances, whereas the detention centers, that's when you see an uptick in, I think it's a 100-mile radius. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the comments. But there's a statistical uptick in enforcement within a either 100 or 200-mile radius from centers. And this is important too. So if you see like a new facility that's cropping up in your area, I'd say like a 200-mile radius, 100-mile, 200-mile radius, historically speaking, enforcement is increased in that radius. Can't tell you what to do, but I'm letting you know that they're less likely to just let you go off of basic stuff if you're close by to one of the facilities. All right, now this is from the last time that we National Guardenized, almost militarized, I don't know, Proud Boyized, whatever. This is the last time that we sent the National Guard in 2020. These are the cities that were prioritized, the places that were prioritized. So dark blue, the Guard was there. Red means that they had curfew. Blue means that they had both National Guard and also a statewide curfew. And then for no particular reason, I'll just pop this map up here, trade routes down here, and I'm hoping you can see exactly what I am seeing. This is why I'm saying it's a trend. Looking at you, Arizona. And then this one is the 2025 version. It's not fully up to date. As you can see, Minneapolis is not marked there. But this is up until I think October. This is where the National Guard had been sent to, which you can see. This is all on north to south trade routes. So I think that's their priority right now. And if you're worried those ones look a little bit off, here's the Mississippi River. But all the things I've covered in this video will be priority for them. And finally, rail. This is where the rail workers live. They're terrified of rail. I'm going to make a whole nother video about the power of specifically California high-speed rail, because they're terrified. The elites, I mean, are terrified. I'm going to pause here because it's already been a long video, and my long videos don't perform super well, even though they're very informative and information that everybody should know. So once again, please share this. I don't get very many views if people don't share. The algorithm rewards shares, guys. That's the way it works. I don't care if these people know who I am. I don't care. What I care about is that the information gets out. So download the video, share the video. I probably will turn watermarks on just so that when you share the video, people know where to go to get more information. But yes, please share the video, comment, like, share, etc. But share. And just to reiterate, any attack or appearance of attack on any of these places that I have sent here fuels the system. Violence, or what they can portray as violence on these routes, on these cities, on these places, fuels their goals. Sit down and organize and have clear demands. Sit down.